I'm Joshua Claybourn with the law firm of Jackson Kelly with an office in Evansville. We have about 150 lawyers nationwide, headquartered in West Virginia, and roughly 20, give or take, at any given moment, attorneys in Evansville. I do a lot of general corporate transactional work, but here for the last 5 to 10 years have really focused and specialized on intellectual property work. I actually lead our firm's intellectual property group. So a lot of corporate intellectual property type work takes up most of my time. I do have several notable government municipal clients as well. So not necessarily related those two, but between those two, it takes up most of my practice. Being a lawyer who grew up in Evansville, just down the road from where Lincoln grew up, it was very easy to get interested in Lincoln. Came from very poor background, in some respects nothing, and became what I believe to be one of the best leaders of the Western world. I do a lot of original source research, so pick up papers, interviews, folks that either knew Lincoln himself or knew the family and associates, and then left original source materials for historians to use. And so I've worked for a lot of my historical career to revive those, find those, and republish those with editorial insights or commentary to make sure they're not forgotten. By the same token, I'm starting to embark on more just original commentary type work as well. What we call, traditional biographical histories. I'm working on one right now on Abraham's time here in Indiana. And then you also mentioned the podcast that I do called Lincoln Log, and in that we interview historians and other commentators that deal with Abraham Lincoln in particular, but also the Civil War, and talk about their work and how it continues to influence us today. The work with Lincoln does occasionally overlap with my legal work. Because I'm so interested in Lincoln, I don't know whether my interest in Lincoln or the Constitution came first, but they're both there. And so because of that, I've had to really delve into how our Constitution and constitutional law was shaped by Lincoln and the Civil War amendments. And so there have been many constitutional issues that have come up that have been informed and frankly benefited by my historical work. But beyond that, really just the historian's eye comes into play when you're looking at a textual approach to the Constitution, or whether you're trying to discern the original intent or the original meaning. All of that comes into play and is benefited by historian's eye. What I find particularly rewarding about focusing on this is preserving and perpetuating the Hoosier story and its influence on Lincoln. As you noted, it often gets overlooked. People gloss it over. When you look at biographies of Abraham Lincoln, if they devote any attention to it at all, it might be just a chapter. Same with documentaries and movies. It's just forgotten. And yet, Lincoln spent ages 7 to 21 here in Indiana. And I always like to encourage people, imagine your own life from age 7 to 21 and how important those years were to you in influencing who you are, what you think, what you believe, how you approach life. Those are critical years for everybody, and the same is true for Abraham Lincoln. And so I know how important Indiana was. And then the other thing that really interests me in that is so much of the myth about Indiana's influence on Lincoln is wrong. It's always viewed in a negative light. And there's no doubt that there are a lot of negatives Lincoln had to overcome while he grew up here. But by the same token, there were tremendous positives. And whether they were positives or negatives, all of them mixed together to help shape him who he was. And so it's important for us, I think, to not forget it. Indiana had a tremendously positive influence on Lincoln's intellectual development. He had access here to a lot of very intelligent lawyers, judges, but also New Harmony was nearby. And that was one of the most educated population centers, not just in the Midwest, but in the United States at that time. And while there's not a lot of evidence to suggest Lincoln visited there himself, the people who did live in New Harmony would have traveled right by the Lincoln farm on the main east-west roadway between New Harmony and Corydon. So Lincoln had a lot of intellectual influences, but he also had a lot of influences about life, interpersonal connection, how to win over people in discussions, debates, arguments, politically and otherwise. So Indiana really shaped who President Lincoln was, and the proof is in the pudding about what kind of president he was, what kind of leader he was, and I believe, my thesis is, Indiana had a very positive influence on all of that.